eyes, we have our hands, we have our feet, and the last thing is our little vine sprout. So let's get that attached. When you have I-cord, if it doesn't look as nice and even as you want, the best way to block it is to simply roll it between your hands like a Play-Doh snake. That evens out the tension and redistributes things really nicely. I just want to note that whenever I give instructions for toys, I'm doing my best to give you instructions how to get exactly what I have in the photos, but that doesn't mean that you have to do exactly as I say. You can play around, you can modify, and you can have a great time. I just have to be specific in the pattern. I don't expect you necessarily to follow identically in the project you are making. So we have our little purl stitch above the left eye of our sprout. And we are going to be stitching down the first end of our vine here. I'm going to leave both ends of the yarn loose. We will probably only need one, but in case we need the second, it's great to have it there and available. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch underneath the eye, or underneath that purl stitch, and just get that attached there. And we'll do that again. We'll go through, we'll have a look at our I-cord to see which way maybe we want to have facing forward. Maybe we'll do it like that. So we're going to go through the fabric, go sort of under a stitch, go through the bottom of the I-cord, and do that from a couple different directions. So kind of come from this direction, maybe from that direction, just get it nice and attached, because once that point is attached, everything's a little easier. So have a quick look. Does it look tidy from the front? It does. We're good. All right, now that we have stitched this bit securely down, what we're going to do is we're going to do our first fold. So we want to count 8 stitches up. Oh, and I should make a note. In the patterns, I'm very specific. I say exactly where to fold, exactly where to stitch, but that's just so that you can get exactly what I've got in the photos. And I encourage you to do your own thing and to play around, but I do need to write something down in the patterns and to be specific. So don't necessarily feel like it has to be round 8 or everything's going to fall apart. If it's round 10 or whatever, it's just going to be slightly different. I do just have to write something down, and I try to be as accurate to the pictures as possible. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we're folding about there, that's where we're going to fold, which then makes this about round 16. I'm not going to count too closely. Now, if you sew this too close to this end, it's going to want to lean to the side. And I personally like the idea that this kind of goes straight up here. So I'm going to stitch round 16 down over a little bit. So what does that mean? That means that, number one, I have to make sure that I'm still sticking in the same column of stitches this way. And it also means that this yarn needs to travel over to where that stitch is going to happen. So I'm just going to move it underneath the body fabric over here and come up over where I think I'm going to be attaching round 16 down again. So let's double check that again. So that's my fold point. So let's fold it down, and then we'll just move it over a bit. And then that way this can be pretty straight, maybe with a bit of a lean. So then maybe that's a little too far over. So we'll do more like that. All right, so now I'm just going to go straight through the I-cord and have a look at what that would look like. So we're going to have this fold, then we're going to have another little buckle, and how do I think that looks? I think it looks about right. So always sort of take a moment before you're done and you lock everything in. So I'm going to go down slightly to the side so that I don't undo what I've just done, and come up into that fabric again. And then I think I'm going to go through the body fabric and back up through the I-cord again. And if I was doing a toy, I would do this a few more times. I'm going to also attach this a little closer here. So I'm going to go down through here and then grab some fabric of the body and go back up through the I-cord. Let's see what that's looking like. Yeah, that's looking about right. So now we need to get to row around 26 of this. So if this is 16, then we'll go 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So about here. So I'm going to travel with my my yarn here, go down and through the tube of I-cord and come up about there. And that end just kind of comes along with me. All right, now we want just a little bit of a buckle here. So let's say about like that. So now I'm going to go through the I-cord, underneath the body, making sure I'm in the same row of stitches. I'm not, I'm too high, so I'm going to go back down over here, go through that, go back through the I-cord, stitch it down a little bit, making sure I'm getting enough of a buckle here. If it's too far over, it will be too flat. Try again, secure that down. And at this point, I'm going to have like a personality check to see what I think. Do I like what's going on here? Do I wish that this was a little closer? One of the things you can do is you can use this end to kind of come back through and attach things a little more closely. Do you actually want this to touch? Then I would stitch together here and here and just kind of make that happen. So just sort of play around with and look at your personality one last time before you clean up and deal with all your ends. If you like what you've got, then you deal with your ends and you're done.